Racing returns tomorrow after a 6-day shutdown. 7:41.
You know, when we say let's have a look at what's in the papers, it does seem a ever more anachronistic phrase, doesn't it, Rach? The papers.
Yeah, how many of our listeners out there buy a newspaper regularly?
Well, fewer and fewer of us. And the recent job cuts in journalism have led to a lot more questions about how to fund the news that we are consuming. The government recently commissioned a review into the future of the industry, looking at how publishers can compete with the likes of Facebook and Google, and also this here place, the BBC, and this mighty monster where we sit. Well, this review's just been published, and among its recommendations, a new code of conduct for platforms that host articles like Facebook, and tax relief to encourage people to pay for their news. Well, lots to get into. Dominic Young, CEO of a new pay-as-you-go service called Agate, which gets a mention in the review. Good morning.
Good morning.
First off, how does it work?
You pay a little bit of money in advance, and then you can spend it in small quantities on any participating digital site. So what you don't have to do is sign up separately to each one or commit to subscribe to newspapers.
That's a bit of a faff doing that, isn't it? Because sometimes you see an article, I think the Telegraph runs it this way, and you think, oh, that's interesting. Oh, I'd really like to read that. And then you look at it and you just get the first couple of paragraphs, and it wants you to sign up for it. Yeah. Does that work as a model? I mean, and if not, why is that not working as a model?
Subscription works as a model for people who are big fans of your product. But it's a little bit like going to a coffee shop and being asked to pay for 300 coffees when you only want one.
That's good, yeah.
And if you only have to pay for the thing you want to read, that makes it a whole lot easier, and you can charge a whole lot less money for it. Problem is, the internet's really bad at charging small sums of money.
Are the BBC pretty villainous in all this?
I think when the media is healthy, the BBC's always coexisted alongside them. BBC's always had people complaining about it, but it hasn't stopped people being successful in the media. So I don't think the BBC's the problem.
Doesn't it have an unfair advantage?
In being funded by licence payers and being free, sure, but there's been free media available as well. I think the best media is the media that is loved by its readers enough for those readers to pay for it.
What about Facebook and Google, often blamed for taking advertising revenue from publishers?
I think advertising revenue as a single source of revenue for publishers simply isn't enough. I think publishers who start to depend more heavily on their consumers, their readers, for their revenue will have a sustainable revenue stream, because the more popular they are, the more money they'll make. Advertising is a complicated game, and the internet has made it more so. So what publishers need to do is bring readers and consumers' revenue back into their mix.
Why has the Mail Online been so globally successful?
Mail Online generates absolutely huge numbers of readers and enormous numbers of clicks, and they've done it by playing the internet game really, really successfully. And they make a lot of money from advertising, but they're the exception. Most people really struggle to do as well as that.
So what is the internet game that they're playing so well?
They publish very large volumes of material. They understand really well what people are going to enjoy in a sort of grazing way in the moment, and they do get gigantic numbers of people reading their site. But even for the Mail Online, making advertising money and knowing they can make the same money next year, I don't think is an easy game, and it's taken them a long time to get to profitability. It's not an easy one to replicate.
No, it's not. And this has been a conundrum for the news business for a long time with online content. How do we make money out of this?
Well, if you're asking people to pay pence, not pounds, and only to pay for what they read, then your job as a newspaper is to make a product that people want to come back to and form a habit around, which is how the newspapers made all their money in the past without knowing a single one of their readers. But the tools to do that on the internet haven't really existed. So Agate is something which puts that tool back and allows any publisher to start to charge small amounts for their content. And for the ones we've launched with so far, we're very new.
Well, we give you the plug really because it is genuinely interesting. So who's signed up so far?
At the moment, we're live on 5 sites, and we're talking to more than 70 others, including sites like specialist sites like the Cricketer sports sites, politics-focused sites like Reaction and the New European, entertainment sites like Popbitch. And we're talking to many, many others in the UK and especially in the US now. And the advantage for them, other than being able to charge the right price for their product, is once someone has signed up to Agate, they can spend their money on any of the participating sites. What they don't have to do is go endlessly to sign up and sign up and sign up again, put new money in, enter their credit card details again. It's really just driven by how much they like the content they see.
What about this phrase, the mainstream media? Do you buy that? Because very often some of the outlets and some of the online organisations that pour scorn all the time on the so-called mainstream media do start to behave like the very thing that they're criticising.
I think the media is in a phase of evolution. The mainstream media is really, what people really mean is the old media, the big beasts of the past. If we can bring more money back into the market and take advantage of the internet's ability to reduce the barriers for people entering the market and starting new online news businesses, then I think the phrase mainstream media might start to seem very old-fashioned, because it will be possible to enter and create a profitable business by investing more in great journalism.
But often the non-mainstream media, those who pride themselves of being away from that mainstream, they don't correct mistakes, there's no balance, it's polemical rather than anything else, and it's all about confirmation bias for those who sign up to it. And so go on.
I think when the incentive is to sort of attract the most attention and to be the highest profile, then it's very, very tempting to be polemical and controversial. I come from a newspaper background, and I remember the very great number of hoops that we constantly had to jump through to be properly accountable for our work. And I think accountability is a good thing. I think accountability to your readers and to those people who are the most loyal to your product kind of keeps you honest. Because if you disappoint them, they stop paying you. And when they stop paying you, you go out of business. And the internet has produced a whole load of kind of perverse incentives to do things that aren't necessarily in the interests of readers.
Well, you're obviously spreading the love. Just finally, if you've got Popbitch and the Cricketer magazine that you're talking to, maybe they should merge.
Maybe they should.
Thank you very much, Dominic Young,
Thank you.
CEO of this new pay-as-you-go service, Agate. And they get mentioned in the Caincross review, which is well worth having a look at. It's 7:48.
This